Heavy stuff. Scott Bevan reporting there from Dili. And live from the East Timorese capital, we're joined now by the Australian Commander of the Peace Force in East Timor, Major General Peter Cosgrove. General, thanks for your time. There were 4 separate shooting incidents reported today. How close did we come to military casualties?
Mike, I think your report probably does illustrate the drama and indeed the difficult security situation that is existing in the capital at the moment. I have to be frank and say that some of those incidents obviously took us pretty close to having Australian troops, interfet troops, remembering that there's other countries with us as well, open fire. I'm delighted to report that so far the discipline's held. They've observed their rules of engagement very strictly. Where they stand, security exists. And so far, no shots have been exchanged with anybody. We have disarmed scores of militia, and we continue to work hard with TNI to resolve difficulties.
General, we just saw those dramatic pictures of troops going into an Indonesian army compound and then leaving rapidly, being yelled at by the Indonesians. Is cooperation breaking down?
I saw that incident close hand today. No, it's not. The soldiers had the good sense and the discipline to ease off when they saw that the reason that took them in there no longer existed. And I'm proud of those troops, those British troops, for their common sense and their forbearance in what was quite a tense situation. And I'm also pleased that TNI have understood how difficult this can be with tensions rising. I've had long negotiations with the Indonesian commander today, and we've reaffirmed our commitment to trying to negotiate our way through these sorts of issues.
Could it get worse before the Indonesians pull out, do you think?
There's no disguising that it might. What's happening is that a lot of the TNI territorial troops, these are East Timorese people who've been conscripted or enlisted from the province and have formed battalions over the last few years, are now being redeployed out of Timor to elsewhere in the archipelago. As they pass through the city, there is of course a lot of resentment on their part. That's where a lot of this shooting is coming from, and of course presumably from some militia. Most of those shots, I'm pleased to report, are not aimed, but of course it's hard to say that if they're close by you.
General, once the Indonesian army does leave East Timor, will that make your job easier?
At once easier and in some ways harder. We'll have to be in more places at once, but the absolute recipe for tension will to some extent be resolved, and we'll be dealing with a simplified issue.
Meaning the militiamen, and how serious are the reports that the militias are massing on the border for a full-scale attack?
Well, I take all those sorts of reports seriously, and naturally I'm devoting considerable intelligence efforts and questions to the Indonesian authorities to check the veracity of those claims, and we will of course be on our guard for any such incursion.
Including the fact that we've heard reports that the militiamen are taking hostages in Dili. How true are those reports, sir?
Well, they're hard to nail down. Every one we get we follow up, but there are a very large number of reports, and sometimes the accuracy of those reports is questionable. I'm not trivialising this because it's tremendously important, but we nail them down, we chase them down as quickly as we can. We refer them to TNI, and we invite their cooperation. In fact, we insist on it, and then we get ahead.
And then, of course, there was the well today where it's believed up to 30 bodies have been hidden and perhaps mutilated. Torture racks discovered. They're all true?
We believe there are bodies in the well. The allegation concerning instruments of torture in a nearby dwelling, we've yet to establish the truth of that. To be blunt, that needs more clinically professional people than we keep in our force, but we'll get that sort of expertise, and we will get to the bottom of those sorts of allegations. Any story concerning mass graves, or in this case a well full of bodies, is utterly repugnant to everybody on the force, and I dare say to the huge majority of Indonesians, including people around the world.
General, finally, morale's still pretty good, obviously?
I think morale is tremendous. The guys have done a tremendous job. All our men and women have stuck to their given task with great discipline and I dare say not a little courage in some cases. There have been provocations. I'm delighted to say that their training has stood up. The men and women of Interfet are doing us all proud.
They are indeed, and we're feeling it back here in Australia, General, and we'll talk to you hopefully soon again.
I look forward to it.
We'll take a break.
Justice is here.
Timor crackdown. Our peacekeepers put militia on notice. Dramatic landing. Qantas force has begun to stamp its authority on the East Timorese capital of Dili, launching a major operation against the militia. It was a coordinated effort in the air and on the ground, seeking out hideouts and rounding up troublemakers.
Low-flying Black Hawk helicopters in the skies over Dili this afternoon signalled the largest action against the militia so far. On the ground, up to 6 ITARAC members were detained in a military operation carefully planned and carried out. Members of the 3rd Battalion, Royal Australian Regiment, spearheaded the charge. The target, a building near Dili's dock. Inside, the suspected militia were trapped. It's understood a large quantity of money was also seized.
You cannot run. You cannot hide. Justice is here.
In the past 24 hours, dozens of suspected militia have been rounded up. Among them, the notorious platoon leader, Caetano da Silva, believed to be part of a group arrested at the ITARAC headquarters yesterday. The warning from the military is clear.
If they carry those weapons openly, if they point them at any other East Timorese or at my soldiers, then we will use lethal force against them.
The latest act of spite by Indonesia's departing military. As soon as they left this headquarters, they set the building on fire. Australian soldiers patrolled the area, but there was nothing they could do. It was one of several acts of arson. A welcome arrival today for the UN force, the first Asian troops to join the operation. Filipino Rangers brought in by the Navy transporter Jervis Bay.
I welcome you and your men.
Thank you, sir.
Please carry on.
The arrival of the Filipino contingent is a timely one. With Indonesian troops continuing to pull out, the UN peacekeepers need as many soldiers on the ground as they can get to cope with any militia uprising. Crossing into West Timor, Indonesian special forces and militiamen mixing freely. Many of these men are suspected of some of the worst violence back over the border. But the former commander of Indonesia's East Timorese forces is angered by claims of war crimes.
Kita lihat dari sudut pandang mana mereka menilai kita. Tapi kita dari sudut pandang
We didn't commit any war crimes. We were there to help the Timorese people and save innocent lives.
While Indonesian police were disarming some of the men as they arrived from East Timor, other groups had modern weapons and are preparing to return to fight UN forces. Today, the Australian soldiers were making friends as they continued their patrols in Dili, and the UN force is now thought to be expanding its area of control around the city. Also on the streets, squads of TNI soldiers were out marching, possibly a final show of strength before their total pullout. Down at the docks, some seemed to be carefree, one appearing to mock media crews as he pretended to be on active patrol. But their sorry history here in East Timor is no joke. A heavy hand for almost a quarter of a century. They will not be missed.